For those of you just joining us, we are making a potluck party using the randomized tools that we have available on dndbeyond.com. We've been talking about how we approach starting characters. And we're going to talk a little bit more about where we take them from that starting point, how we plan ahead, how we'd want to grow them into the future. So we're going to talk a few of those questions with our first example, which is Hasselhoof, the satyr bard, who's not that great at charisma, but possibly comes from a family like a circus training that they're trying to live up to. Will they stick with this? Will they branch out? We'll find out. But before we roll up the rest of our party for our potluck party, I want to talk a little bit about the general question of how we carry characters forward and how we plan ahead, if you do, for the long term. So, Sandalev,
Yeah.
how do you approach long-term planning for your characters?
Contrary to popular slander, I do make plans occasionally, if only to look at their flaming wreckage and warm myself in satisfaction when I've inevitably destroyed them. Uh, that's a I tend to be pretty traditional in a writing style approach to developing role playing characters, which is I like to figure out what the character wants and how it's different from what they need. In specifically tabletop role playing game, a lot of times I will look at what is lacking. We'll see that we instinctively started talking about that low charisma score and where that could have come from. And to me, I'm automatically thinking of arc and how the character interacts with having that inadequacy. In background, we build where that came from and how they feel about it now. And they probably have, as a character, an internal sense of what they want to do with it. And as a player, I pretty much always make sure that's the wrong answer. Because then at some point, they will go super hard into that and realize, maybe even get what they wanted, and realize that it doesn't make them happy, that it doesn't solve their problems, that it doesn't fulfill what they really need. And then I can, usually at the same time as I'm figuring out what they think they want, I'm already planning for where I think they could go. And that's where I tend to get surprised, because you not on the want, because the want comes in from the start. It's usually very bold. It is usually the very visible motivation. Like, I want to be the very best bard in the world. And it turns out maybe I might need more than my parents' validation to feel complete as a person. But exactly what it is that I need, I might come in as a player with an idea of it, but that's very much where I let the story and the character surprise me. I'll have like a first draft, but because that is internal to the player, because the character isn't really saying it in the text, I still have a lot of wiggle room for what that arc eventually looks like. I have a first draft arc, and that's what gets left in the Flaming Rebel.
Danielle, how do you approach the long term with a character?
Honestly, like I just if I get a chance, I talk to my GM or my DM about like relationships. But that's always I am not very much a long-term planner as much as I am an improviser. And so I am all about like relationships. What is this person's relationship to their family? What is this character's relationship to their party? What is their relationship to the world? And from there, because I again, flaming wreckage, like Sam said. So because of that, like I don't plan ahead. I'm very much like just say yes, just go with what's happening. But if you have a foundation of these are the relationships to your party, these are the relationships to the world, and to your family, those things can change and alter. And again, I know what my character wants, but I never want to be stuck on a path because it's never going to work that way.
Good advice for games and also life. Just bonus the high wisdom score accidentally just spilling all over the stream today. Um, so that brings us to the question specifically for Hasselhoff here. How would you want to see Hasselhoff change over time, potentially, and develop in the game as it goes forward? And what kind of challenges would you want to see them face? And then we're going to roll up a couple more examples, but let's start with Hasselhoff. Danielle?
Um, I would want to see them obviously as they join a party, have to deal with their relationship because we've already established that like their family is a part of the circusing family that they may or may not feel comfortable being a part of or want to be a part of. And so going back to the relationships, I want them to be able to resolve how they feel about their relationship to their family and what it is they actually want. If it is not this, and maybe there is a different like you can still be a bard and do a different kind of they're very athletic, and this is where my Danielle Radfordness comes in. Maybe they don't want to be like the kind of circus person that they are, but they can be a different kind of circus carny. Like maybe they can be a wrestler. Maybe they can do something that's a different kind of athletics that really takes advantage of their wisdom and their strength and their ability to do all of these things without necessarily being like a Cirque du Soleil person. And then also they're a satyr, so they know how to do music. Maybe they discover that their talent lies in creating beautiful music and not necessarily doing acrobatic tricks or whatever, and definitely not necessarily doing the bard stuff of like, hey, I'm a sexy bard. You know, maybe it's about taking the stories of what happens to the group and Witcher style, just making songs about them, you know?
I love that.
I love it, Sam. What do you see in the future or want to see in the future for Hasselhoff?
Yeah, I mean, broadly, there are different angles to lean into, but I agree with Danielle. Like, there's absolutely the version of this story where someone who is not a great, like, archetypal bard becomes an archetypal bard and has that very linear story. But there's also so much story juice in maybe going a different direction. Why is that stealth proficiency there?
Mm.
What might become of that? What other possibilities? And you know, because I do approach very much from mechanical perspective a whole lot of the time. Bards are great because there's so much that doesn't actually rely on that charisma bonus. No one has ever spell saved against a buff. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's so much you can do to help your party that doesn't depend on having a good charisma score. And there's so much else here that's very valuable. And all of that comes together to me to suggest that maybe this isn't the linear story of a bard. It's some angle on using all of the other gifts that Hasselhoof has to be the very best support, the very best satyr aid.
That wisdom is wild.
Imagine having a
So,
positive wisdom score. I could never.
I could
so
never. I would never.
So we're thinking we might keep going and pick up that College of Swords when we get to our college point. But we also might detour, maybe add some rogue to lean into the stealth, or add something else that ties into our buffing abilities. Yeah.
I think there's a lot there.
I
Maybe some
l-
fighter levels.
I love the idea of linear,
Ooh.
but I also love a rogue. Um so I love excuse me. I love the idea of leaning into like again, I love a swashbuckler. I love the idea of leaning into especially because you have that stealth. But I mean, obviously that's also but they wisdom is the wisdom is wild to me. Um, and it's just
This
so
will let
good.
us dip into a lot of multi-classes because we meet the minimums for several different possibilities,
Yeah.
just at if we wanna go full mess with this. But we can't do it alone, of course, and this is one of our party members. So in addition to Hasselhoof, let's find out who else is showing up to the potluck party. Hmm?
Yeah, because we just talked about a bunch of different angles we can take Hasselhoof, but we want to leave space for what other people in the party are doing. Like if we end up rolling up a rogue, we're probably going in a different direction.
Mhm.
Than, if we roll up another bard because it's random. Who knows?
Oh no, I hit quick build.
Oops, all
And
bards.
I didn't. All right, randomize. Create a character of any level with random statistics by setting parameters. Another level 1. We're going to leave it open. Character B. Just choosing, it's deliberately painful to call them things like character B. But it's a spur to our creativity. All right, let's meet our next party member. A Simic Hybrid Cleric 1. Now, I'm going to remind myself
Whoa.
what the heck a Simic Hybrid is because that's exciting to me. Is this from
That's also out of magic,
I
isn't
think
it?
it's magic. Yeah, I think that's
getting a
magic.
lot
Do we
of
have
Magic
a
the Gathering
theme?
today?
I've honestly I've mostly played with Magic the Gathering.
All right. Oh, yes, of course. The Simic Combine uses magic to fuse different life forms together. In recent years, the Simic Combine has extended this research to humanoid subjects, magically transferring the traits of various animals into humans, elves, and Vidalcan. And I love this. I always go straight to the name section. Some of the newer ones don't have name sections, and I'm gonna miss that because I don't. That's just my like. I just go straight there. A hybrid usually bears a
Yeah.
name given by their human, elf, or Vidalcan parents. Some hybrids assume a new name after their transformation, a name chosen personally or by those who transformed them. So we're a
Dark
cleric,
vision.
and
Hell yeah.
yep, we've got Ray of
Oh
Sickness
yeah.
and Chill Touch. That's exciting.
Perfect. Oh, this glorious creature. I'm so excited. We can already see the
So
architecture of this party so clearly. Like, these are multiple characters who were in like low wisdom on a cleric. Everyone's going to be swapsies.
oh
This is
no,
take the
I didn't
career of
even
the
look.
person to your left.
And everyone has to learn something. They all like have you either learn something or like you either learn that you want to gain more proficiency in what you do, or you learn that this isn't who you want to be at all. It's
Yo, peep that
beautiful.
acrobatics proficiency. Look at that dex. Look at it.
Yo,
Look what
That's
we've got
that
here.
Yep. We are a
that dex
dex
is
domain
wild.
cleric. We have very nice dex and the worst wisdom. We have proficiencies in acrobatics, insight, performance, again, persuasion. We have, let's see. Oh, because we're an entertainer. This is
Well,
the
now we
actual
know how they're
background.
meeting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. We need a name for our Simic hybrid, kind of crappy cleric who met entertaining.
Ooh.
Oops, all carnies.
Yeah, it is kind of an oops all carnies. We got to
The
take these characters
carnation.
into Witchlight immediately. Hmm?
Ooh.
All right, what are we thinking?
Yeah. Is there like a good evil
Oh, do
Knievel name variant? Like death defying feats, right? Death domain.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. And a construct specifically being like already did defy it. I showed up defying it.
The
Mm.
chiller. I'm trying to think of like
Are they
dark
all
side.
wrestlers?
I mean, when we
Let's
have
not
an
rest.
expert at the table, we would be fools.
I am the worst. Hold
Look, they
on.
have 14 and 16 as their level 1 physical stats and they're a background entertainer. It's not like you've really like we have to go far
Not a
afield for
stretch.
this.
Mm, ooh. Hmm. And see, now I'm also thinking of like comic book names.
No wrong
uh so
answers.
our death domain cleric, who is a construct or a hybrid, and who has decent physical stats but absolutely terrible wisdom, with the entertainer background. How about? Oh, you know what? That's kind of a Boston Brand scenario. Deadman, who's for those who might not be the comic book heads, a DC Comics character who was a circus performer, who already died, but now serves one of the deities related to death and sort of intervenes with people. But his name is Boston Brand. So what's the fantasy version of Boston Brand?
Ooh.
I mean, what's the fantasy version of Boston? That's the Great Bostini in from Halfwing.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. Well, now we're getting into Zantana territory, and I really like it.
Yes. Superpowers that are also performance and circusy related. I'm going Great
Mhm.
Bostini if that works for y'all.
I love it.
Let's go.
And it's especially funny since as we meet them, they are bad at the thing they do. So did they name themselves the Great Bostini, or was that name assigned to them by somebody who was like, "Good luck, you're the Great Bostini now."
Their name was
Mm.
assigned to them for sure.
Yep.
Like that was a circus. That was like a circus thing where it's like, oh well, this is what you do, and this is who you are. Everyone, come here, hear ye, and welcome to the Great Bostini.
Ooh, great Bostini.
I love it. Okay, that is two members of our party, Hasselhoof and the Great Bostini, meeting up at the circus, both having some challenges in their chosen professions to
I
overcome.
love this.
They're gonna help each other grow.
They're gonna grow so much, and they're gonna discover things about themselves and who they want to be.
Two more coming up. We're just calling this one C for time's sake. Level one,
Gimme.
we have ourselves a Valinor High Elf Monk
Whoa.
With a
with 9
9 dex and
dexterity.
Oh, sweet. And a history proficiency of +4.
Our book learned monk here. High strength, reasonable wisdom, not a lot going on other than that. We got acrobatics, history, insight, perception, and religion.
We have such a
Because
struggle
we're-
party. I love it. Oh, well, so this is like maybe the fortune teller of the circus.
Ooh, I love
Mm.
that.
And it's like, come
Ooh.
inside my tent and I shall tell you your fortune. And they might not be right. But they're
Oh,
definitely
they're
a good
100%.
person.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're high int,
+0
but they can
deception
think on their
check.
feet.
They can't sell it. I mean, they very much read to me like those stats read to me of like someone whose parents made them go outside and they don't wanna.
No, this is an indoor kid.
Indoor
Absolutely.
kid, read a lot. Maybe came in here like monk background. So like that's kind of those like stunts. What do you got? What do you got? I see the
Close
face.
up magic. Like close up magic.
What's the sleight of
But with
hand?
a
That's
9
so bad.
dexterity.
Pick a card. Oh no.
Oh, this is so good. I mean, now we're getting big umbrella theme just from all of these like this is the gift of randomization. Randomization is no guarantee of optimization on any level. And in so doing, it gives lovely prompts. You'll notice that maybe more than with typical characters, we're really leaning into the min of the min maxes on these characters, and they're giving us a lot of story juice, and they're doing it in
Mhm.
aggregate. But this is one of the true gifts of randomization. It prompts you in directions you might never otherwise go. I would never build a
Absolutely.
monk like this, and I am so in love.
So we have some great. Dark of Nate points out this is kind of has a Chris Farley as a ninja vibe, but also potentially this person was the monastery's office manager. We don't know, volunteering for all the indoor duties.
Everyone needs someone to file.
Sure.
Raynock X has a great suggestion. Does anyone else get a feeling like all of these so far were like other classes and got lured into a carnival of chaos, got sort of their memories blanked out, and the new classes are based on whatever, like what the lure imprinted for them? I
Mm.
I kind of love the like mixed up identities possible. If you're the DM, you can back pocket that suggestion for let's say 6 months into your game.
That's some Feywild nonsense right there.
Ooh, that's very Buffy tabula rasa.
Yes. Shout out to that specific episode of season 6 of Buffy.
Sorry.
It's
I'm
really
going
good.
to say, if you give me a chance, I'm going to shout out specific episodes of Buffy.
Oh, please be on the show every week. We can be a problem. Okay, so that's 3 out of 4. Our monk needs a name. Our very extra religious, even for a monk. They somehow also ended up like, how did they end up at the circus?
I mean, with that dex, they tripped and fell.
It's been one of our mods, Erin Zero, pointing out that they don't necessarily work for a circus, but they could canonically work for a carnival. There is both a Witchlight Carnival and a Van Rutten's Guide to Ravenloft Carnival that is stuck
Ooh.
in the mists. So for a nice little horror game about how you ended up here, there's a lot of great possibilities for why you might be working at a very special carnival that travels through the mists of Ravenloft.
Yo, I would say, like, going on Sam's suggestion of tripping and falling, you trip and fall and you end up in mist?
Blink
It
and you
can
missed
work.
it.
Oh my gosh. I do love B. Colbank has a suggestion that I'm a little bit in love with for our clumsy monk, Grace.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All our
Go.
characters are kind of struggling with expectations, and this one got named Grace.
When you have that virtue
it.
name and it ain't yours.
Temperance.
Oh.
Woo!
Faith, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Okay, we've got 3 out of 4, and I think we have time for one more to fill out our potluck party.
Let's go. Watch, it's just going to be one perfectly built character just to give everyone else insecurity.
Right?
So right now we have a bard, we have a cleric, we have a monk, and we're about to have...
That's actually pretty good.
Character.
The circus waiting music is perfect. A rogue!
Hey!
We have a Githzerai rogue. Let's see.
Oh no, they are good at dex.
Hey! Well predicted. Not much of a
Which
strength
is the
stat
only
there.
stat you need as a rogue. You don't have to be good at anything else, which is good because they're not. They're perfectly average, as all rogues should be.
Just gonna grab us. They're all cuties. All right. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. We've got ourselves a Githzerai rogue with athletics, deception, investigation, persuasion, and stealth. A good set there. We are another house agent. We're very magic today. In this case, to House Cannith. And I apologize, but I don't know the specific houses, or I would be able to tell you what that means. But once again, we have sort of a background that means you are connected in with a group. So we could just decide be the same house that we're using as our circus background in the other case.
Hear me out. Different Mr. and Mrs. Smith style.
Sexy.
Okay, how did they talk me through it? I love it.
Yeah. So both our bard and our rogue are infiltrating the carnival. Neither are really great at it, just purely by the stats. And so there we get a nice farce, particularly at the beginning of the story, of both of them like trying to get information, and neither knows that the other is from a rival house.
I love it.
Also kind of star-crossed lovers if they wind up like hooking up.
Oh, we gotta go rivals to lovers, yo.
Oh, we
got it.
Can we also, if we're talking tropes, can we also do at one point they have to share a bed?
I mean, look, there's only so much space in a carnival tent, isn't there?
Look, eventually there's only gonna be one. I'm sorry, that's like one of my favorite tropes. There's only gonna be one bed.
Absolutely an option for you at your table. If you've all opted in to, we think this sounds like a fun idea. This sounds like a very fun idea. We need a name. We need a name for our rogue, and this will fill out our party of 3 misfits and 1 extremely dexy rogue, who cannot lift a rock above her head, but is otherwise ready
So
to take care of business.
Ooh,
Mm.
sexy. Okay.
I'm gonna do my thing and look up Gizrai names because I don't remember what
Yes,
their names are like.
you.
Yes, we love this. Between the
Uh,
suggested names and fantasynamegenerator.com, I am well supplied in life. Particularly since we now have random names through D&D Beyond supplied by fantasy name generators. It's
Thank
a
you.
complete breakfast.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Do we get names?
I have
No. Shoot.
100% picked at least 2 names from
Bless the people at Fantasy Name Generator. Okay. We have a suggestion in chat. Randox says we can just call them Dexy. It is, in fact, a name. Or at least there
Right,
are
just
Midnight
like
Runners who belong to
Dexter
them, so I
has a
assume.
nickname.
And it reminded, I'm sorry,
Danielle.
it immediately reminds me of Rexy. You're so sexy. I'm so sorry.
Then the Empire Records AU, where all of our circus people met at a record store instead. That's a totally different domain of dread, I presume. But
Oh,
let's
Rexy,
see.
you're so sexy.
The terrible joke that the bard won't stop making, that is teasing it first, but like eventually they're gonna actually fall for each other. I love it.
Oh,
I want to.
I only want parts to be happy.
I know, I just immediately want happiness. And maybe it's just because they're like level 1 little. Wow, that's a lot of consonants.
Yep.
Oh,
Gwen
Gwen.
or Fincane or Exus or Olamer. Israel. That's a very specifically.
That's culturally specific. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marnar. Dominic. Mareem.
Ooh.
I love all these names. These are fun. Grayson. Hey, get out of here.
Oh, done.
It's spelled differently.
There
but-
it is. They gave it to us. We have no choice. The randomizer told us.
Yeah, and it's legally distinct because it's spelled very slightly differently.
It's what they need. Yep. Nailed it.
Thank you,
and
randomizer.
we might have to add a bonus because Not a Halfwing is in with the last name apparently of the Hoff's Baywatch love interest, which was Holden. So if we want to fully like arranged marriage these kids, we can be Grace and Holden.
First name, last name. Let's go.
Also, in Baywatch, someone did have sex with a ghost. I'm just saying.
And that's on lore, everybody.
No,
You heard it
no,
here
that's
first.
lore. Oh, no. There was like a mermaid. Like, Baywatch is wild. Someone
Wow.
had sex with a ghost. Someone hooked up with a mermaid. It's like a whole thing. It is wild.
Okay,
DM
so
pro tips. Just recycle and put into Fantasyland things that actually happened in 90s television.
amazing,
Should we just do,
incredible.
like, an event? Not today, but someday. We should just do a
Just to,
Baywatch.
like, there's so many ocean-based classes and species that we can pull on. Wait, say that again.
Faywatched. Faywatch. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah.
it. All right,
Yes, you're right.
so we have our potluck party. We
Yes,
have
you're right.
ourselves a bard, a cleric, a rogue, and a monk. 3 of them are pretty bad at their primary thing, but they've all got some stuff going for them. And we have an incredibly dexterous, not strong at all. I'm just struck by it. Rogue closing out the party, who's sort of hyper good at just the one thing. Where do we see this party going, and what would we lean towards as we're filling out the rest of their journey?
Well, based on what we've started to talk about with the relationship between our 2 house agents, I would next want to explore what this carnival is, what they think it is, why
Mm.
we're agents infiltrating it. And by building out a little bit about that side of the setting, we can tell whether maybe are we trying to uncover the mysteries of this carnival as we travel with them? Do we need to bring it down from the inside? And so our rivals have to learn to work together against a greater evil.
I
Lean into
love
the
that.
carnival and the world building around it.
I love the idea of, like, the corrupt carnival where it's like, oh, maybe, like, as they go around from town to town, they steal the life forces from the people who come in and visit, um, and
You're in a
then our
Negaverse
heroes
carnival
have to
now.
figure out. Yeah, and then our heroes have to figure out, like, well, we have to take this down because they keep, people keep winding up dead, even though, like, they're just trying to steal life force, but they keep messing up, and then people wind up dead,
Mhm.
and then you have to figure out how to, like, challenge them, and at the end, I don't know, some kind of necromancer?
I love
Yes.
that. All right. So as we go through and develop these characters, would we have an eye on like just keep both visions in mind, like stay on your path or branch out, or do we know for sure that like our rogue is probably gonna keep on roguing? I feel like she's probably dedicated.
Yeah.
But what about the
I
others? Do
I
we
think
have a
that's very
strong impulse?
strong. Uh, I to
Which
me,
is
this
good
is
because we need
where
at least one person in the party who is, like, very we need at least one person in the party who, like, is on their path and knows what they're doing, while everyone else is, like, tripping all over themselves, sometimes literally.
Oh, Grace.
oh, yeah, poor monk. And yeah, it gives for good, like, if other party members are uncertain, it's like, "Well, how did you know?" And then you get to have that beat of interaction. And sometimes that's as far as planning goes, just like having the feeling of, hey, this might be a beat that I want to hit at some point because you knew when something was right for you. Can you tell me? And then after that conversation, at some point, there will be something that happens in the story, and then they'll have that feeling and they'll know. And maybe they multi-class out, maybe they do something. But having those
Um,
contrasts.
and then, like, maybe because here's the thing, I don't think the rogue wants to be a mentor, and then all of a sudden is thrown into this mentorship role, which is also incredibly interesting because it's basically like you are the only one who knows what you're doing, and you've got these like very sweet, bumbling people around you. And now you have to go from being a rogue who was on their own to suddenly being a leader.
Oh,
Yes.
Wolverine style. I love it.
Oh, I just put it on my pull list. Oh my goodness.
Well, I love this very much. I am very excited about this party. We have even more great suggestions. Like we've got circus, we've got carnival. Ravbunna says rather than carnival, it could be a seaside boardwalk, like a Santa Cruz amusement park boardwalk kind of thing. There's a
Mhm.
lot of wonderful ways to adapt this setting, but I love that just with randomizing and a few suggestive elements, we've got a party, we've got ideas of how they can bounce off of each other, how they can play off of each other, and how we could move them forward into the future if we were lucky enough to get to sit down and play this game for 6 months, a year, or however long. Thank you both so much for hanging out with me today and making a potluck party. This was so much fun. Sam, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, well, when folks make their perception check, I may be Persivan as a role playing performer and variety streamer throughout the Twitchernet, my schedule for which is on my Twitch About page. That's twitch.tv/Delevely, Delevely. All of my one offs, like this, can be found on my Twitter, which is right below my face.
And also an amazing joke of the quality that you can expect from Sample Leve. Hmm? It's a good name.
That's a good.
Danielle Radford, where can people find you?
Oh, well, if you like the honest trailers, I help write those. So watch them because it keeps me in rent money. You can find me on Fandom where we talk about different things throughout the week. If you like wrestling, you can find me on my wrestling podcast, Tights and Fights. Also, we just announced if you like Misfits and Magic on Dimension 20, we just announced our holiday special, which I'm very excited about. So
Yes!
that is coming up soon, and soon we will have a date.
exciting! Thank you both for being here. If you want to play with these buttons, just use the randomizer. The more books you have unlocked, the more wild things that you might need to look up from the School of Magic. But fun possibilities await you in the Character Creator on D&D Beyond. Thank you for hanging out with us today, and we will see you next time on D&D Beyond.
It's D&D.